Let's welcome an NFL expert here, member of the Pick Six podcast, Ryan Wilson, to go through the AFC North. A lot going on leading up to the season. Let's start with the Ravens here. Ravens ended up at the bottom of the division last season with an 8-9 record. Lamar was out for the end of it. Their win total set at 9.5, but what is your record prediction for them?
It is 10-7. Okay. So I went through the schedule today, and there's some tight games here. This is a good number by Vegas, and it's hard to believe this team finished last in the division because they're clearly not that. A lot of that was because of injuries, COVID concerns with Lamar. They're as healthy as they've been in quite some time as we head into this season, which is good news. I still think they're not the favorites to win the division, and we can talk about that in a second. But in terms of stretches I'm concerned about, if you look at weeks 12 through 15 there. So Jaguars, Broncos, Steelers, Browns, those games could provide a little hiccup. I'm a little concerned about those games there. I think there's an opportunity for the Jaguars to steal one. We know the Broncos have Russ Wilson now, then Steelers, Browns, those divisional games. If they can find a way to sneak out 2 wins there, as opposed to perhaps going 0-4, which I did in my little made-up exercise here, then clearly that puts them over the 10 win and takes them to 12 wins. But I think, conservatively speaking, given how tough this conference is, given how tough this division is, 10-7 feels about right, and that is just over the over of 9.5.
All right, our producer Noah wants you to go through those first 4 games against all the AFC East teams. How do you see them going through each one? Extra work.
All right, let's see what we got, Noah. They're going to beat the Jets. I got them beating the Dolphins. I have them beating my Mac Jones Patriots, and then I have them losing to the Bills. So that's a great start there, 3-1. That's how you want to do that. The Jets, Joe Flacco, are you going to lose to him? That could be a rivalry game, I guess you wouldn't call that. I'm still not sold on Tua Tagovailoa. I love Mac Jones more than his family does probably, but I have concerns about who's calling the plays in New England. And then the Bills are the Bills, and they're legit. If they find a way to win that game, that would be a huge feather in the Ravens' cap. But I'm going to go 3-1 stretch there against AFC East, lose to the Bills in Week 4.
Ravens, Bengals on Week 5. So let's go to the Bengals here, who won that division, your AFC champs. They went 10-7 last season. I wanted to make sure you have the ink of the Bengals on your arm. I don't know if that's going to play into any of this. What is your record prediction for the Bengals?
Yeah, I'm sort of like I've been bitten by a radioactive spider, so I'm going to turn into Spider-Man, but it's been a Snoopy tattoo with a Bengals sweatshirt.
Very cool.
A lot of losers in this conversation, mostly me, Amanda. So 10-7 last year, 9.5 is the over/under. They're going to run it back. They're going 10-7 again. Joe Burrow, is going to be healthy. He will be fine despite the appendectomy. The concern for me is weeks 4, 5, and 6. Dolphins, Ravens, Saints. That could be a stretch where they lose 3 games there if they're not on point. If they find a way to sneak out a win there, I think everything to make predictions here. So I think 10-7 will be a conservative finish to the season. I don't think they win fewer than 10 football games. And I think the good news is they could win 11, 12, 13. I actually like them to win the division. They both have the same record as the Ravens. Spoiler alert here, but I think in terms of the tiebreakers, they'll come out ahead 10-7 and again, go to the playoffs and have a chance to redeem themselves should they get all the way to the Super Bowl again.
NFL expert Ryan Wilson. So let's talk about the Steelers post Big Ben. Not sure who the starting quarterback is going to be, and of course that could change throughout the course of this season. Last season they went 9-7. Their win total set at 7.5. What is your prediction for the Steelers?
7.5 feels sort of disrespectful. I mean, the team has never lost more games than it's won under Mike Tomlin going back to 2007. They currently picked last in the division according to Vegas at plus 1,100. That includes a Browns team that won't have a quarterback for 11 weeks. All that said, I'm going 9-8. Again, which is about average if your quarterback is Mr. Trubisky for the start, which it feels like it will be. And the reason I say that is because you can bring the veteran out there and then return or move to the rookie and Kenny Pickett at some point. You don't want to do the opposite. Put Kenny Pickett out there and he gets destroyed, and then you have to decide when to bring him back in should that happen at some point later in the season. The games I'm concerned about, they're the first 2 games of the season, Bengals and Patriots. Those could very easily be losses. The 2 games right before the bye, at Miami, at Philly, those are going to be tough games. They could certainly be losses. And then at the end of the season, at Baltimore and Cleveland with Deshaun Watson presumably back on the roster and under center, those could be losses. So there's a situation where 7.5 perhaps comes into play, but if they can steal a win or 2 out of those 6 games, then they're going to sneak into the playoff conversation, which would be interesting. That said, they somehow found their way into the playoffs a year ago, and no one thought that was going to happen either.
So let's talk about the Browns here. Of course, no Deshaun Watson for the first 11 games. He got Jacoby Brissett there. I was listening to Pete Prisco and Brady Quinn go through their schedule game by game, and both of them said, beginning of the season, we're kind of fine, and then things really fall off. What is your prediction for the Browns and all the questions they have surrounding them?
Yeah, I don't like to agree with Pete Prisco publicly, but I think falling off is the right way to put it. I have them winning 7 games. That's only because Deshaun Watson is going to come back after Week 11, presumably barring injury and rust and all that other stuff. He hasn't played a football game in over a year and a half by the time he gets back out there. Jacoby Brissett's the guy. Jimmy Garoppolo is no longer in the conversation because he's now going to stay in San Francisco, it looks like, for the time being. So the part of the schedule that concerns me the most, and I'm guessing this is what Brady and Pete were talking about, Weeks 5 literally through Week 12. Those are potential all losses. Chargers, Patriots, Ravens, Bengals. I guess they'll win the bye week. Moral victory there. Dolphins, Bills, and Buccaneers. And we'll see Deshaun Watson back perhaps for that Buccaneers game. But again, he wouldn't have played football for a long time. So that's a concern. And you have to find a way to steal 2, maybe 3 wins there. And I don't know if that's going to be possible with Jacoby Brissett and the cast of characters around him without a franchise quarterback. So that's the middle of the schedule. That's the biggest concern for me, that could see this team go below 500, even though when Deshaun Watson was traded, there was conversations they had a chance to win the division before the subsequent punishments were handed down. So I'll go 7 wins, bottom of the division, which feels about right if you're a Cleveland Browns supporter.
Okay, so if you have the Ravens and the Bengals out of this division making the playoffs there, the chance for either of them, Ravens or Bengals, to win the AFC or the Super Bowl.
Yeah, those will be pretty long. I'm actually going to be all over the Chargers this year. I think they're going to win the division, the AFC West, over the Chiefs. I think the Chargers will represent, like I said, they'll win the division and win the conference. That said, I think once we go down to playoff time, I think Buffalo, this is their year to make a Super Bowl run. So I'm going to go with those 2 AFC teams over any of the AFC North competition in terms of making the deepest of the playoff runs, and Buffalo to ultimately get to the Super Bowl.
Ryan Wilson, big Chargers guy this season. We'll see as it rolls along, just a couple days away now. Ryan Wilson, thank you so much. He is a member of the Pick Six podcast, the podcast you need to download and follow for all things NFL. Latest episode there, preseason winners and losers. Make sure to download and follow. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.